Hey Leo, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to your reading. These are general readings. We're going to take what works and leave what doesn't, as with everything in life. If I don't catch your wavelength or storyline on this reading, check your other major placements. And let's see here. We are starting with the Oracle deck Urban Crow, and then we're going to move on to a more traditional tarot spread with the most traditional, iconic deck ever, the Writer Waite Smith Deck. We are doing that specifically so that we can talk about Pamela Colman Smith during Black History Month, a Black woman who created all of this wonderful artwork, the most iconic tarot deck that we all know of and love and are slightly intimidated by, or used to be, I don't know. It's the deck I learned on, so it always feels like there's all these right answers and wrong answers on that deck, and everybody knows it. But I'm starting to actually really vibe with it this week. So anyway, so yeah, the most iconic deck, but it's not the original. It was designed in 1904, so not the original. All right, what do we have here from Urban Crow? Leo, we have fear. Oh my gosh, and we have illusion. I love these two together, although I'm going to flip them on as I'm looking at it. Because illusion means you're projecting onto something, or what you see is just a reflection of what you're afraid of. You might be yelling at something. This is classic tilting at windmills. Worried about something, upset about something, but there's nothing there. It's a mirror. It's just a reflection of your own fears and your own worries and your own concerns. I mean, in some ways, all of life is just a giant Rorschach blotch where we just look at this crazy cacophony of chaos and we project onto it whatever we're feeling. So if we're feeling afraid, then there are scary things out there. If we're feeling happy, there are wonderful, amazing things happening. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but your day is more or less determined, more or less. There are days, there's not a lot of your attitude's going to be able to do to fix the whole thing. But more or less, your attitude, your projection, you see a reflection of yourself and your mood in the way things are going and in your life around you. There's something about change here and temporariness. And it's a cracked mirror that you're looking in, so it's not accurate. It's not accurate. It's like a broken something that you're looking at. You're not seeing it clearly or accurately, and you're upset about it. But it's something about you bringing the. It's like you're bringing this. You're the one creating this illusion. You're not creating it. You found it, and it looks real. But it might not be. So I'm not going to gaslight you and say, you know, what you're seeing isn't real or anything like that. It's a question to ask, though, is what these cards are asking you to do, is what you're seeing and what you're looking at and what you're upset about and what you're afraid of, is that real, or is that something you're bringing? Is that an energy you're bringing to the situation? Is that something you're projecting? Is it just a mirror image of yourself and what's inside? I mean, so much of life just really is a mirror image of what we have and who we are. There is a key here. There's something that can change the situation. There's something that can open it up so that you can see more clearly and sort of break out of this illusion or break out of this trap. Because this crow really does think that this other crow is real, and it's yelling at this other crow when in fact it's yelling at itself. So it's sort of like, oh, what is that phenomenon? Like, it's not 100% true, but it's something to play with. It's if you spot it, you got it. So it's like if you're criticizing somebody else for something, it's something you're most likely very insecure about yourself. It may not be something that you necessarily have, but it may be something where you'd be like, oh, this is really important to me to maintain this, and that person didn't maintain that, and I feel, you know, if I didn't maintain that, I would hate myself or something like that. Like, there's something about if you spot it, you got it. If it's something you're seeing in somebody else, it's something you might be experiencing yourself. And then we have fear. So I like these two together because this card, fear, talks about a scarecrow, right? So, and this illusion is you seem to be afraid of something that's just an illusion. That's just something in your mind because you can't see clearly, or because you don't have a clear perspective, or you don't understand that the fear is, the call is coming from within the house. The fear is inside. It's a within you issue, and your perspective in your eyes and how you're seeing things issue. What I love about this fear card is that this crow here, this is a scarecrow, and it's supposed to be, this crow is supposed to be scared of the scarecrow, but it's not. It went step by step, bit by bit, exploration by exploration. What if I did this? Oh, that guy's still not moving. What if I did this? Okay, this guy's still not moving. Oh, did that guy move? Okay, back up. Okay, I'm going to try again. He really wanted to sit on this hat. He thought about how that hat was going to feel in his claws and his little hand and his little crow hands, on his little crow feet. He thought about what it was going to look like, and he really wanted to stand on that hat. So there was a lot of exploration, a lot of overcoming fear, hop by hop, step by step, overcoming this fear to realize that it was just an illusion, right? And this is why I love these two cards. The scarecrow is just an illusion. And you can overcome it bit by bit, piece by piece, hop by hop, explore and experiment. But this is here telling you that your fear may be an illusion. It's just a scarecrow. There are things that we legit need to be afraid of, but not on the daily. We live fairly safe existences given the history of humanity on this planet. You may actually be as safe as a person can be, which is to say never 100% safe, but you're dealing with some fears, and this is here to say it's just a scarecrow, it's just an illusion. There's some fear that you're having. At least explore the possibility that it's not real. All right, Leo. This is your past, your present, your inner landscape. What's at issue? Your environment, to-do list, possible outcome. You are in a bit of a defensive mode here, but for a good reason. Okay, so just erase the last 5 minutes. No, let's explore further. But that could be a separate message, or it could be tying into this one. We will see. We don't know until we find out. Wheel of Fortune. You've had some good luck, some bad luck, the situation changed, the situation moved. These are all the forces at work in the universe that are beyond our control, possibly beyond our comprehension. This Wheel of Fortune moves. It feels very random to us. There might be rhyme or reason. There is order in the chaos and chaos in the order. So there might be reasons for why this shifts and turns, but we often don't see that from our perspective. I like how they're all reading books. It reminds me of like the Akashic records and sort of this, I don't want to say things are predetermined, or but there are certain, I feel like there are checkpoints that we go through where this is where we're meant to be, this is where we're supposed to be according to, the destiny that we agreed on before we came here, as a possible idea I like to toy with but have literally no evidence for, except for my own experiences. So there's just a lot at play here, and things changing and turning and moving, and there are things that are out of our control. So you've had to deal with some of those. We call this luck or bad luck, good luck. It changes, this wheel spins and turns according to plans that we are not privy to. So mysterious plans. And then in your current situation, we have the 10 of Wands. This is a beautiful card, even though it doesn't look very beautiful. This man is struggling. This is a card of isolation. We have sort of separation from the rest of life. It's out of the flow of things. But this 10 of Wands talks about a burden. There is no more of this to carry, and it is time to put it down. You may have felt isolated in carrying this burden, alone in this burden, but there is no more burden to carry. There's a time here. There's an end of a cycle, an end of a situation. What I find interesting too is this deck. The numbers are quite fascinating to me and really pop out here. We have the Wheel of Fortune as the 10. We have the 10 of Wands. And then this all comes together to the 20, the Judgment card. So this 10 of Wands, the current situation is about putting down a burden. Maybe conquering this fear, maybe realizing that this fear is an illusion, it's just a scarecrow. That's what this burden is. This is oftentimes not a very necessary burden, but it's one we felt we had to carry. What would it have been like to have said no? I mean, no, can you even imagine? And so there's this desire or this point here, a breaking point where it's time to put this down, and that's where you're at right now. There's a burden you've been carrying. There's something that's gotten very heavy. It can have to do with societal expectations, jobs that were never yours to do, other people's issues, other people's fears, maybe that you were carrying around and trying to respond to, trying to be sensitive of, but it's sort of reached a breaking point. The 10 of Wands is the end of that cycle. Time to put this burden down, time to let go of it. You don't need to carry it anymore. Most of this wasn't even yours to carry. Maybe you had 1 to 2 wands that were your burden to carry, but you've been carrying everybody else's. This is a very heavy load, very heavy load, and you're ready to put it down. It's time to put it down. It's the end of it. It's had you feeling isolated, I feel like. I see that really strongly in this card today. It's had you sort of feeling alone and isolated and having to carry this burden solo. There's no team here. There's no helping. You're just taking on everybody's needs, everybody's expectations, and carrying them. Right? We want to be sharing the load. We want to be sharing the burden as we travel through life, but this has gotten too heavy and too much, and it's time to put it down. So your hopes, your fears, your inner landscape, judgment. You might be afraid of being judged for putting this down, or judged for what you've done in the past. You might be worried about that. The Judgment card is the past coming back for reevaluation. How did we do? Let's see. What would we like to do differently next time? How would we have done this differently? What would we like to work on for the next time we encounter this situation? So it's not really something to be feared, but it can be in the way that it's presented. You may be very worried about being judged. What if I said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to carry this burden anymore. How would people respond? And how would you feel in the future? If you look back, would you be proud of the decision you made? Would you be okay with it? Would you be like, you know what? Or would you be like, I can't believe I stopped. I can't believe I quit. You know, this 10 of Wands is about quitting something that's no longer working for you. And this Judgment card, and it's important. Otherwise, I would still be doing gymnastics like when I was 7 and was terrible at it. And I would probably be somewhat better, but very depressed and not much better. So quitting is a super important skill to have. You know, people quit smoking, they quit drugs, they quit drinking, they quit relationships that are no longer working for them, which is important. You know, not quit at the drop of a hat, but quit one. I mean, this 10 of Wands is not talking about, oh, we hit a little bump and I quit. This is like gone on for a really long time. You've carried this for long enough. So this Judgment card could be worried about judging yourself, looking back at a decision that you've made or are making or considering making, and not liking what you see. So I feel like this Judgment card is talking, you're worried about judgment. You could be worried about self-judgment. You could be very worried about making the wrong decision, a decision that you're going to regret here later, that you're not going to be proud of, that when it comes time to reevaluate that decision, this decision, I think it might be this decision to put down these wands or not, and the situation, it looks like the situation just changed. It just changed. And now you've got this burden of wands. And maybe if the situation hadn't changed, it would make sense for you to continue carrying this. But the situation's changed and you're still carrying a burden. You're still doing this thing that doesn't really make sense anymore. And it has you feeling isolated, alone, and overburdened. So if you put this down, you might be very worried about how your future self is going to judge you. Is it going to be, oh, you just quit again? Again, you quit. quit, you know, even though it might be time to quit something, you know, and this judgment card could be, you know, worried about that, worried about the future, wanting to make decisions that you're proud of and that you can really stand by, but worried that you're going to regret this decision, and worried, and you could also be very worried about other people judging you, other people not knowing, you know, how the situation has changed and how these burdens have affected you, and so being worried about people that maybe don't know the whole story. And you know what? In some ways, our future self can be very judgmental of us, can look back and be like, why did you do that? What did you do? But we always have to remember we're all kind of going a little bit blindfolded through life, right? We can't really see all of the ramifications. So we make the best, hopefully, we make the best decisions we can with the information that we have at the time. So, you need to go, so it's important to be very forgiving of your past selves, because you need to be able to go back and say, you know what, I didn't know I was going to feel this way. I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know they'd react like that. And even if they did, you know, would that have changed how my heart really felt? Would that have changed, just because someone responds poorly or is judgmental, even your future self, that doesn't necessarily mean that the decision you made was bad or terrible. And only you in this moment can look at all the variables you're looking at. So it looks like you might, you know, be contemplating or at a breaking point with something, and you really don't want to regret the decision. You really don't want it to come back and haunt you. And you don't want other people judging you either. So that's where this fear could be coming in. You could be very afraid, but it could be just an illusion. Sometimes we make a decision and everyone says, oh my gosh, I was wondering when you were going to do that. Oh, finally, you know, or you look back and you're like, why did I wait so long to do that? So there's all sorts of ways our future self can look back, and you're worried about it. And this is why we have fear and we have illusion. If you're afraid of something and judgment from that something, it might be just an illusion, something you're projecting. You're just worried about your own judgment of yourself, not other people's. What's at issue here is this Five of Cups reversed. The Five of Cups in the upright talks about a grief process, regret, grief, and being very focused on that. This could be, this five, it could be being stuck in a grief process, being stuck mourning something. Because normally I read it as a natural flow. We're grieving something, we've lost something, we're taking a moment to acknowledge it. But right behind us, we've got so much more living to do, so much more life ahead of us, many more exciting adventures ahead of us. But we're just taking a moment. So, but this could be being really stuck in this moment. Maybe you're afraid you're going to get stuck in a regret. Maybe you regret something that you did in the past so much, and you're stuck there in a way and not able to move on from that. And that's coloring everything else. That's making you afraid to make new decisions. Maybe you regret quitting something back then, and now you're afraid to, you know, and that regret has really stuck with you, and now you're afraid to quit something now. What I find interesting too is we have this 5 here. We have the 10, 10, 20, and the 5. So we have multiples of this. It's almost like this whole thing comes back to some sort of past grief, past regret, past sadness that you haven't been able to let go of, and it's coloring the rest of this. Everything else, it's sort of multiplying here, and everything else is sort of part of this past grief. So it could also be a hidden grief, a grief that you're not acknowledging, a grief that you're not openly acknowledging, so it's subconsciously affecting your decisions, and it's not been openly felt and openly acknowledged, the losses that you have accumulated. Maybe some of these losses you just have moved on very quickly from them without acknowledging them. So there could be a lack of acknowledgement. We could also be coming out of a grief period, a grief process. That could be this burden of this grief that you're coming out of. And maybe you're worried that people will be like, oh, why are they bouncing back so quickly? Or don't they miss this person still? Or don't they regret still what they happened? And you could be worried about that with this judgment card, that if you recover too quickly and move away from this grief process too quickly, other people might be judging you too quickly, according to other people watching from the outside. So I see just a lot of fear of judgment. Fear of judgment, both from yourself. I think it's mostly from yourself, and you might be projecting it onto other people, saying that other people are judging you when in fact you are judging yourself. However, this changes a lot of the reading here. The Seven of Wands here is about defending yourself. You are in a position to defend yourself. You are having to defend your choices and your decisions here. You do have the higher ground here. These are all your naysayers down here. What are you doing? What are you doing? And you're like, I'm doing what I know to do, what I need to do here. I need to put this burden down. You weren't the one carrying this. I was carrying this. I felt isolated and alone, and I need to put it down. So your environment does have, like I said, I don't want to gaslight you into thinking that this is all in your head, because there is something in your environment that's triggering you to get into a defensive mode. Could be this past decision. It could be your own fears, but there is something here that's at least triggering you, even if it's not actually making you defend yourself. It's triggering you into feeling like you have to defend yourself and feeling very defensive. So it could be either one. Either there's just something that's reminding you of like, oh, I'm going to have to defend myself, and it's tensing you up here. Or it could be actually, there are actually people in your environment that are like, we don't like what you're doing. We think you should keep carrying our burdens for us. We think you should keep doing what we expect you to do, which is expected. If you have been doing what's expected of you and something to please other people only, they are going to get really pissed off if you stop doing that, because they were happy with the arrangement as it was. Why would they want to change that? And then the energy, there's a lot of wands here. So there's something about intuition or creativity or maybe even sexuality here. So we have your to-do list, the energy with the greatest growth possible for you, the energy you need to interact with. Queen of Wands, this is coming into your own intuition, right? It's coming in under this. You know that this is over. You know that this is time to put this down. You know that you don't really want to engage with other people's expectations for it, but here you are. I love this because this is defensive mode. This is, I'm afraid and I have to defend this and I have to push back. And this is sit back on your throne and get in touch with your intuition right here and just sit back. This is you. This is you doing your thing. Nobody else should have a problem with that, right? So this is you sitting back in your power. And it's very personal. It's very internal. The queens are internal. So it's not about male or female. It's about the queen energy is an internal energy. So it's you forgetting about these externals, sitting back in your power, in your intuition, doing what's right for you and understanding that. I mean, this Queen of Wands, she listens to other people, but she listens. And she does what she wants anyway. Because she's very powerful, and that power is all radiating internally. It doesn't have to do with trying to convince. If this was a King of Wands, this would be like, take some leadership, convince other people to follow you. This is Queen of Wands. This is just follow yourself. Just listen to your own inner light, your own inner guidance system. Just be internal and be confident and solid in where you're coming from internally and what you know to be right for you, what you understand. And it could just be intuitive. You could just be like, I just feel like I don't want to do this anymore. I just feel like, even though there's going to be judgment, even though it could be like this old situation I was part of, even though other people might be upset about it, this is just you saying, hey, you know what? You're going to have to deal with your own emotional stability over there. You're going to have to deal with your own feelings. I'm here doing my thing. And I have this intuition. I have this gut feeling, and I'm just listening to it. And you all can do your mess over here. That's really none of my business how you respond and what you say and what you do and any of that. I'm here. So there's a lot of confidence here, and there's a lot of self-confidence in your own intuition and your own understanding of what's going to make you happy and what's going to bring you peace. We have strength, we have perseverance here, we have patience, all of that, and just working on strengthening that internally and getting very solid and very clear on where you stand internally, where your power lies, and sort of, in fact, receding away from what other people think from these fears. This crow here really faced his fears, very powerful, sitting on his throne, conquered this scarecrow. The scarecrow wanted to conquer him. He conquered the scarecrow. That's you right here, Queen of Wands. Don't be afraid. Be in your power. That's how you're going to deal with that. And then where you're going, 8 of Cups. There is something here that you need to put down, that you need to let go of. Your satisfaction isn't here and you know it. First, you got to get in touch with it, what you want. and who you are and how you feel, and that get in touch with that power. And then your intuition's going to lead you forward. There's going to be, your intuition's going to let you know that it's time to go, that it's time to move on. This Eight of Cups is about satisfaction being elsewhere. Maybe someone else finds this situation very satisfying, abundantly satisfying, but it's not working for you. But you do see something that you want. You want these other Two of Cups, these 2 cups that we have over here. You want those. And you're ready to go turn around and go find them. That's what's coming at you, is that energy, that confidence, and that ganas to go find those other 2 cups that haven't spilled, the remaining, more satisfaction, because what's here right now today isn't satisfying for you. First, you got to get in touch, and you got to find your sense of power in the situation, self-empowerment, your sense of power, you know, conquering that scarecrow, conquering your fears, understanding that what these fears are, and then making your move to find these other 2 cups for more fulfillment. And you know what it is. You know what's going to make you more fulfilled. And it's the time will come for you to, you're not there yet, but the time will come for you to put this burden down. And right now it's just all about getting more secure and in your power. That was a long reading, Leo. Oh my goodness. Very absorbing for me. I probably could have cut half of that, but rambling is part of how I discover the message. So anyway, I hope that this is helpful for you. Thank you so much for your likes and your comments and your subscribes. And it looks like I'm doing these every 2 weeks at this point. That's what's going to work for me. So, so I'll see you in 2 weeks.